to our second installment of the Halloween edition on the Positively Disney Phone and Show. I'm Kimberly Bouchard, the author of the best-selling series Positively Disney, and your host for this evening. I hope you are having a great beginning to your Halloween week wherever you are, and I'm really excited about this show to have a really, really decent fellow on my show. He is an award-winning producer, Disney filmmaker, author, and artist. And he has been actually with the company for 32 years, the Walt Disney Company. And he has worked on so many movies. I can't even tell you how many, but I will mention a few of them. We're talking about Brother Bear 2, Spider-Man, the Tigger movie, Fantasia, Hercules, Pocahontas, Lion King, and Aladdin. And the one that we are going to talk about tonight is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I absolutely love that movie. Welcome, by the way, to Melanie and Regina and Beth. Thank you for joining me tonight, all my Facebook people and Twitch TV. We are just getting Dave Bossert on the line. So we are going to be ringing through to him at this moment and just waiting for Dave to pick up. He was very kind to share some of his evening with us tonight live on the Positively Disney show. And we're just patching through now, and we'll be speaking to him in a moment. Again, thank you for joining me tonight while we speak with Dave for this really special edition about A Nightmare Before Christmas. So how many of you on the show tonight have actually seen that wonderful movie, A Nightmare Before Christmas? You know, they have done so much with it. It's something that when Tim Burton wrote the original poem, he did not anticipate that things would go as far as they have with the show, with the movie, I should say. It was actually a poem that he wrote when he was an animator with Disney Animation, and he wrote the poem that I will share with you, the original poem. I think he had written it about 1983 or so. And Disney wasn't too sure originally if they were going to do a film on that. So it actually was created and illustrated as a children's book. And it's really, really interesting how that actually transitioned into the film. Just want to say hi to Ava, who is also joining us tonight. Oh, hi, Dave. Welcome to the show. It's Kimberly Bouchard. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Kimberly?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking a wee bit of time out of your evening, and so excited to have you on and talk about, well, you've got several books, and I think for the first thing that I'd like to talk about is The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I want it because we are under a time constraint. Folks out there that are wondering why I'm going to be going quickly through here. Dave has a dinner engagement tonight, so I don't want to take up too much of his time. But Dave, what led you to that amazing film? I mean, you've done so much on so many amazing films, but for the sake of our Halloween edition, what led you to have your involvement on The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Well, the film was actually done up in San Francisco in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And I was working at Disney Animation in Burbank, Glendale at that point.
Uh-huh.
And the folks that were making Nightmare Before Christmas, which was a stop motion animation film, were basically in need of some help to do certain things.
Okay.
And one of those things was to add, okay, hold on one second. Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I've got a million things going on.
I bet.
But anyway, they needed to add snow to Halloween Town. And in order to do snow at that point, we were really looking at doing some computer-generated animation.
Okay.
And that was something that was in its infancy at the time that the film was being made.
Right.
So anyway, if you hear me moving around, I'm sort of trying to get myself situated so I can actually talk to you and your audience in a little quieter place.
Sure. I understand.
Anyway, so there was no what we would say off-the-shelf software that did particle system animation, which is what we use for the snow.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually worked with a talented software engineer, Trin Huang, and we were basically creating the snow for the sequence in the film where where it started snowing in Halloween Town.
Right.
And so we were essentially animating that and writing software as we went along.
Holy cow. That's quite extensive and intensive.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun too.
Oh,
it was a really, really fun film. I was so thankful to be asked to be a part of it. And again, I was a small part of it. There was an incredibly talented crew up in San Francisco that did all of that amazing stop motion animation. And you got to remember, when that film was in production, like before that, there had never been an attempt to do a full feature-length film in stop motion animation on that scale at a major studio. Right.
That was, now, how long did it take to actually film it? No, I'm not talking about post-editing and things like that, but how long did it take? Because that's a lot of work.
The actual film was in production for like 2 years.
Wow.
But there was obviously some work done prior to the full-blown production.
Sure.
Again, it was all based on Tim Burton's original poem that he had written, and that was written back in like 1982.
Yeah.
And, it was sort of put in what we lovingly refer to as the board, which is now the Animation Research Library, where all the artwork goes. And so, Tim left the studio, and he was doing some great films like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, all these great films. And then he had this success with those films, and then did Batman at Warner Brothers, and he was the hottest director under the sun at that point. And he still had this burning desire to do this movie, Nightmare Before Christmas. And so, they reached to, he and his agent and manager reached out to Disney to see if there was, if Tim could get that back. And Disney said, we want to do it with you. And that's how it all came about.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Because, I mean, from the beginning, from the inception of his poem to actual release of the film, it was 10 years, I think, 10 or 11 years, wasn't it? Yeah, it was.
I mean, from the time he wrote the poem, it was about 11 years between the moment he wrote the poem and the film actually being released.
Yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, and it was a small movie at the time.
Right.
And I'm not sure that anybody really knew, I don't think the studio knew what to do with it. And they felt like it might have been too scary for the Disney Animation core audience. So they released it under the Touchstone label. And it went out and it did okay business. It didn't do great.
Right.
But it's one of those films that just has resonated with the audiences, and people watch it every year. I mean, for the last 25 years, the audience just got bigger and bigger and bigger for this movie.
Yeah, and I noticed that it's actually being shown at our local theaters again around this time.
Yeah, for the 25th anniversary, they've done a re-release of it.
Yeah.
They have, I think this coming weekend, actually, this past weekend, they did a big concert at the Hollywood Bowl. Last week, they had a opening night at El Capitan.
Nice.
There's really a huge audience in this for this film, and
Right.
And so, so when Disney Editions reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in writing this book, I
Yeah.
said absolutely.
Yeah.
And I said, I worked on it, and they didn't know that I had worked on the film.
Oh, so perfect for you.
Yeah, so it worked out really well, and I knew a lot of the people who were involved in the film, and so everybody was very generous with me with their time.
Yeah.
I was able to interview most of the animators,
Nice.
of course, the director Henry Selick,
Yeah.
some of the story people, art directors, various departments, people that made puppets and set construction and things like that.
Right.
So it was a lot of fun, and I think being able to sit down with Tim himself and talk about the film, 20 some odd years later,
Yeah.
and also it was really interesting when I talked to Danny Elfman about the music he wrote. Originally, I had like an hour and a half scheduled with him, and it turned into more than a 3-hour conversation. Just sitting there, just him and I, just one-on-one, just talking about music and his thought process and his creative process of being able to write the lyrics and write the music. And just really, it was actually a really wonderful, immersive experience for me to go and talk to all these people and then be able to write this story in a linear fashion of how the film came to be and all the different departments that are involved in making a film like this.
Because it was a lot of people involved. People, unless you're sort of aware of that or the industry, you don't realize how much work goes into a film like that, because that's a very unique genre of filmmaking, and I know it's intense. The title of the book for that is what, Dave, and when is it going to be coming out?
So that book is going to be the official title right now is Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas: A Visual Companion.
Okay.
Tim is writing the foreword to the book.
Nice.
And it's going to be released in June of next year in time for D23.
Perfect. And now that's not the only book that you have written. Can you share some of your others? And I think there's one that is just come out or is coming out in November. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's actually, I have a book releasing in 3 weeks on November 13th in time for the holidays.
Nice.
And the title of that book is called Kem Weber, Mid-Century Furniture Designs for the Disney Studios. And it's all about a architect and designer named Kem Weber, who actually designed the Burbank studio lot for Walt Disney back in 1939.
Oh, wow.
And he was part of this movement of architects and designers that looked at a facility holistically.
Right.
And it was all about not just designing the actual buildings, but designing the interiors and also the furniture that went into those interiors.
Love it.
And so he wound up designing 22 pieces of furniture specifically for the animation process.
Oh my
gosh. There's animators' desks, there's assistant animators' desks, there's layout desks, background painter desks, there's director's desks, there's variations on a lot of those desks. There's also freestanding closets and other items, including his famous airline chair, that all became part of the Disney animators' offices. And while I was working at the studio, I had a Kem Weber desk that's from 1939, and I had always thought my desk was an assistant's desk, but it's actually known as a compact animator's desk. So when I left the studio, they gave me my desk that I had been working on for decades and my home, and I used that desk to do all my writing on. And so I was sitting there actually while I was writing the Nightmare Before Christmas book, and I sat there and I started looking at the desk, and I wondered if anybody had written anything about it, and there virtually wasn't anything written about it. decided right then and there that once I finished the Nightmare book, I was going to go ahead and write this love letter. Really, is what I kind of tell everybody. It's a love letter to the furniture that Ken Weber designed for the animation process.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so after I finished the Nightmare book, I just sat down and started basically doing research and interviewing people and just starting to write about the book. Excuse me, about that furniture.
Right,
and
right.
I was able to locate his Ken Weber's archives, and there was a wealth of information in his archives. And I just put this book together. I interviewed a whole bunch of Disney legends like Don Hahn and Andreas Deja,
Yeah.
James Coleman, and people like that who had all worked on this furniture over the years.
Right.
And so, it was just I keep going back to that one sort of description. It was a love letter to the furniture.
Oh.
And so I was really thrilled to be able to do it. And it's really, I refer to it as a passion project because, a small topic like that, most large publishers are not going to be interested. They're going to look at it and say, I don't know how I'm going to sell this, how many people are really going to buy it, all of that kind of stuff. So I actually set up an imprint and we're publishing the book.
Yeah.
I just saw a finished copy of the book actually earlier today.
Nice.
And I'm so excited about it because it looks spectacular. And the pre-sales have been off the charts. I mean, I can't believe how much interest there is. And I'm thrilled by that because the book has been up on Amazon since the beginning of October for pre-orders, and it's just doing amazingly well. And it's also, by the way, just for your audience to know, it's up on BarnesandNoble.com and also BooksAMillion.com, aside from Amazon.com, if anybody's interested in pre-ordering it. And they can get a little glimpse on the Amazon site because there's the look inside feature that they have. Amazon, they can actually get a sense and see. There's a lot of interesting concept sketches and paintings that Ken Weber did when he was designing the studio. So there's variations on the entrances to the studio property. There's concept, visual development concepts of what a director's office might look like or what the layout common area might look like. And so there's a lot of stuff in that book that I think the real hardcore Disney fans are going to flip over because stuff never been seen before,
Well, and I would imagine when you're working at your desk, I mean, if it could talk, right? If it could share the stories of who it belonged to and what was going on exactly at that time period before, way before you came along. I think that's a really, really wonderful idea and a perfect gift idea as well. I know I'll get one for our daughter for Christmas who's studying architecture, interior design. I just love that whole concept and love.
Yeah. And I was going to just say, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
no,
but
that's
I
right.
was also just going to add to this was that, I don't think that there's any other reference book out there. There's no other book that has collected all of the information that there was available on this specialized furniture. And, when you look at, like, I sit there and look at my desk, and I can tell you, I actually worked on films like, The Great Mouse Detective and The Little Mermaid and all of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Pocahontas and all of these films I worked on my desk. And I know that my desk was used back when they were doing Pinocchio and Fantasia and Bambi and all of these other movies, whoever had the desk before me, and I wish I knew, they were working on, Jungle Book and 101 Dalmatians and Sleeping Beauty and Peter Pan and Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, and all these films were all done on that desk.
That's so cool. And that is really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I'm excited about that book going out. It's been getting some really wonderful early reviews.
Nice.
And if anybody's interested in seeing a little bit more about the book, they can also go to my website,
Okay.
which is davidbossert.com.
Okay.
David Bossert, all one word, davidbossert.com.
Perfect.
And they'd be able to see some of the early jacket quotes from the book, which were people I had sent early copies, early manuscripts to read and give me notes and whatnot.
Nice.
Some of the things they had to say, which was very nice.
Oh, great, Dave. Thank you so much. I know you've got to go. But I just wanted to ask if you had something real quick to share with us. Do you have a special moment or a defining moment in your career with Disney? Because you've had I think over 32 years now with the company. That's pretty
correct,
impressive.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing projects with them. So it's been an exciting career. And I would tell you, a lot of people ask me, what was your favorite film to work on? And I always say that's like asking me who my favorite child is.
Oh, yeah. I know.
It's like you can't really put your finger on one.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, one of the best experiences I had, and I had great experiences on all these movies, but one of the best experiences was working on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And the reason for that was that I was able to live in London, England, and work on the animation. I worked with the animation director, the great Richard Williams, who really created Roger Rabbit, the actual cartoon character.
Nice.
And I worked with a very international crew of people. And because of that, I have friends all over the world in the animation community because that was such an international crew of artists that came together to make that wonderful film. And so that's one that stands out because it was just a fantastic experience. But all the movies were great to work on, and I learned things, and every one of them had different things that we were able to create and do, and it's all just been such a wonderful ride, as they say.
Well, and it's not over, Dave, for you.
No,
a lot going on. Yeah. Oh gosh, Dave, thank you so much for taking the time with us this evening, and I'm so glad that you could take this time to share with us not only a little bit about the movie but also your two books. And I know that you've got the Oswald book, but we don't have time for that with you tonight. But thank you again, and anybody out there, make sure you check out Dave's books, especially the one coming out in November, and then A Nightmare Before Christmas, the behind the scenes of that. I'm sure that'll be fascinating for all of us that love that movie as well. But anyways, Dave, again, thank you, and have a great evening, and you take care. All right. Say hi to Nancy for me. It's really, really interesting when you talk to someone that is part of the Disney family in an artist capacity. And I just wanted to respond. Stan had asked about, are there any more, ideas for making more Nightmare movies? And at this point, I think that there isn't. I know that Tim wanted to stay pure. Tim Burton wanted to stay pure to A Nightmare Before Christmas and not make it into sequels and stuff like that. Although Disney is famous for doing sequels nowadays. But at this point, he wanted to just keep it as the strictly visiting the Christmas Town. So that movie, Nightmare Before Christmas, was not nominated for an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, which Dave was actually a visual effects artist on there. And, even Tim Burton was kind of surprised how it kind of became a brand in itself. And it was based on a poem that Tim Burton wrote while he was animating with Disney in 1982. And I really, as you know, I'm all about the story. And I just actually wanted to end the show tonight with the actual poem that I will read to you. And because my eyes can play tricks at me at this age, I'm going to just add my glasses on here. And so if you want to just sit back for a few minutes, I'm going to share with you the original poem that Tim Burton wrote many years ago. And here we go. It was late one fall in Halloween land, and the air had quite a chill. Against the moon, a skeleton sat alone upon a hill. He was tall and thin, with a bat bow tie. Jack Skellington was his name. He was tired and bored in Halloween land. I'm sick of the scaring, the terror, the fright. I'm tired of being something that goes bump in the night. I'm bored with leering my horrible glances, and my feet hurt from dancing those skeleton dances. I don't like graveyards, and I need something new. There must be more to life than just yelling boo. Then out from a grave, with a curl and a twist, came a whimpering, whining, spectral mist. It was a little ghost dog with a faint little bark and a jack-o'-lantern nose that glowed in the dark. It was Jack's dog, Zero, the best friend he had, but Jack hardly noticed, which made Zero sad. All that night and through the next day, Jack wandered and walked. He was filled with dismay. Then deep in the forest just before night, Jack came upon an amazing sight. Not 20 feet from the spot where he stood were 3 massive doorways carved in wood. He stood before them completely in awe, his gaze transfixed by one special door. Entranced and excited with a slight sense of worry, Jack opened the door to a white, windy flurry. Jack didn't know it, but he'd fallen down in the middle of a place called Christmas Town. Immersed in the light, Jack was no longer haunted. He had finally found the feeling he wanted. And so that his friends wouldn't think him a liar, he took the present-filled stockings that hung by the fire. He took candy and toys that were stacked on the shelves, and a picture of Santa with all of his elves. He took lights and ornaments and the star from the tree, and from the Christmas Town sign, he took the big letter C. He picked up everything that sparkled or glowed. He even picked up a handful of snow. He grabbed it all, and without being seen, he took it all back to Halloween. Back in Halloween, a group of Jack's peers stared in amazement at his Christmas souvenirs. For this wondrous vision, none were prepared. More were excited, though a few were quite scared. For the next few days, while it lightened and thundered, Jack sat alone and obsessively wondered, why is it they get to spread laughter and cheer while we stalk the graveyards, spreading panic and fear? Well, I could be Santa, and I could spread cheer. Why does he get to do it year after year? Outraged by injustice, Jack thought and he thought. Then he got an idea. Yes, why not? In Christmas Town, Santa was making some toys, when through the din he heard a soft noise. He answered the door, and to his surprise, he saw weird little creatures in strange disguise. They were altogether ugly and rather petite. As they opened their sacks, they yelled, "Trick or treat!" Then a confused Santa was shoved into a sack and taken to Halloween to see Mastermind Jack. In Halloween, everyone gathered once more, for they'd never seen a Santa before. And as they cautiously gazed at this strange old man, Jack related to Santa his masterful plan. "My dear Mr. Claus, I think it's a crime that you've got to be Santa all of the time. But now I will give presents and I will spread cheer. We're changing places. I'm Santa this year. It is I who will say Merry Christmas to you. So you may lie in my coffin, creak doors, and yell, boo. And please, Mr. Claus, don't think ill of my plan, for I'll do the best Santa job that I can." And though Jack and his friends thought they'd do a good job, their idea of Christmas was still quite macabre. They were packed up and ready for Christmas Eve day when Jack hitched his reindeer to his sleek coffin sleigh. But on Christmas Eve, as they were about to begin, a Halloween fog slowly rolled in. Jack said, "We can't leave. This fog's just too thick. There will be no Christmas, and I can't be St. Nick." Then a small glowing light pierced through the fog. What could it be? It was Zero, Jack's dog. Jack said, "Zero, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight?" And to be so needed was Zero's great dream. So he joyously flew to the head of the team. And as the skeletal sleigh started its ghostly flight, Jack cackled "Merry Christmas" to all, and to all a good night. 'Twas the nightmare before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was peaceful, not even a mouse. The stockings all hung by the chimney with care, when opened that morning would cause quite a scare. The children, all nestled so snug in their beds, would have nightmares of monsters and skeleton heads. The moon that hung over the new fallen snow cast an eerie pall over the city below. And Santa Claus's laughter now sounded like groans, and the jingling bells like chattering bones. And what to their wondering eyes should appear but a coffin sleigh with skeleton deer, and a skeletal driver so ugly and sick, they knew in a moment, this can't be St. Nick. From house to house, with a true sense of joy, Jack happily issued each present and toy. From rooftop to rooftop he jumped and he skipped, leaving presents that seemed to be straight from a crypt. Unaware that the world was in panic and fear, Jack merrily spread his own brand of cheer. He visited the house of Susie and Dave. They got a Gumby and Pokey from the grave. Then on to the home of little Jane Neiman. She got a baby doll possessed by a demon. A monstrous trade with tentacle tracks, a ghoulish puppet wielding an axe, a man-eating plant disguised as a wreath, and a vampire teddy bear with very sharp teeth. There were screams of terror, but Jack didn't hear it. He was much too involved with his own Christmas spirit. Jack finally looked down from his dark, starry flights and saw the commotion, the noise, and the light. Why, they're celebrating. It looks like such fun. They're thanking me for the good job that I've done. But what he thought were fireworks meant as goodwill, were bullets and missiles intended to kill. Then amidst the barrage of artillery fire, Jack urged Zero to go higher and higher, and away they all flew like the storm of a thistle, until they were hit by a well-guided missile. And as they fell in the cemetery, way out of sight, was heard, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Jack pulled himself up on a large stone cross, and from there he reviewed his incredible loss. "I thought I could be Santa. I had such belief." Jack was confused and filled with great grief. Not knowing where to turn, he looked toward the sky. Then he slumped on the grave, and he started to cry. And as Zero and Jack lay crumpled on the ground, they suddenly heard a familiar sound. "My dear Jack," said Santa, "I applaud your intent. I know wreaking such havoc was not what you meant, and so you are sad and feeling quite blue, but taking over Christmas was the wrong thing to do. I hope you realize Halloween's the right place for you. There's a lot more, Jack, that I'd like to say, but now I must hurry, for it's almost Christmas Day." Then he jumped in his sleigh, and with a wink of an eye, he said "Merry Christmas," and he bid them goodbye. Back home, Jack was sad, but then, like a dream, Santa brought Christmas to the land of Halloween. Well, I'll tell you, that was a long poem. And it's something that I definitely couldn't memorize to share with you, but I hope you enjoyed that original from Tim Burton himself back in 1982. And I really enjoyed that poem. And before I leave you this evening, I do want to say a special hello to Francisco and Linda and John Jack, who've joined me this evening. And I just want to tell you guys all, I wish you a very merry Halloween night. And until we meet again next week, be safe and take care. Happy Halloween, everybody. Good night. Bye for now.